It's 10 at 3 time in Tennessee. What's up, y'all? How are you? Hope you're well. Hope everything in your life is going well here on this Tuesday, I believe it is, as I flip one page on the notebook here. There we go. That was Monday's agenda, folks. We got a new agenda today, always with the media agenda. The media agenda. Right now, the agenda is talking Tennessee athletics. Here, Wes Rucker with Elijah Nixon. Got Tom Barclay back there on the ones and twos. Fellas, what's up today? How are we?
Man, I'm doing well. Wesley, how are you doing?
We're
today?
doing okay over here, I think.
It's always funny. Tuesday, I think I said this last week. Tuesday is always a fun day because we have our sports meeting at 2:30. And so we transition like right from there to here. And so it's like, oh, hope everything's working. We tested it before, but then you're right not in it, normally in here 10 minutes before, but now it's 10 seconds and here we go. And that's what Tuesdays are most likely most days, but or most weeks anyway. But that's all right. We got it settled. We're good. Had a good meeting. Now we're going to have a good show. Everything's good. I'm the dad in the car right now being like, we love each other. We're fine. Stop it. That's what I'm doing.
Well, it was a quick, brief meeting, and it was pretty good. If you guys know what we do, it's just basically just talk in there and figure out what's next as we approach another new week. We usually do that Tuesdays, like Wes said, at 2:30. And let me tell you something. Aren't we happy that the bowl game is happening on the 30th?
I tell you,
isn't that a good thing?
There are times in the past where I've had to, and it's the worst part. One of them is like when you get on a plane like Christmas morning and you're going to a bowl destination and you're going somewhere warm, but like you're leaving your family and it's Christmas and they're looking at you like you are the worst person who's ever lived. Because there's no way that it's just what you have to do sometimes, right? But it's just part of the business.
And you know what? I was happy because Tennessee, man, they've been giving me crap all year. It started when Joey Aguilar. I never forget this. Joey Aguilar was announced as the starting quarterback. That was a Sunday night, if anybody remembers. That was a Sunday night, and it was roughly around like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. They announced this happening. And I was like, yo, are you serious at all times a day? And then, I'm going to fast forward. There was a lot of things that happened in between. Yesterday, Monday, you cruise into like a week. Tim Banks is gone. Like, what's going on, man? Like, they've been giving me a tough time. So the bowl game actually eases everything out because it's after Christmas. It's before New Year's. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. Beautiful, beautiful day.
It's always one thing and then the next, right? And that's what we absolutely love about this business. It's what we love about it. But also at times it's the part that it drives you nuts a little bit. Like, man, it's both. It's like something that you very much love and very much hate. Kind of like, I don't know, maybe you got a cousin who's like that. Who you're like, man, I love you, but I also can't stand you sometimes. That's sort of what this business is. But I say it all the time. Like, we love this. We're sickos for it. It's why we do this, right? There's a part of us that gets a little bit like, excited when things are going like crazy at the wrong time and you're having to run around, get everything together. Like, Elijah's got part of his lunch on the table right now. Like, it's just, you just go. And that's what we love about it. And there's a lot to discuss on this show. We're obviously going to keep getting to Tennessee's defensive coordinator situation. There've been a couple names of interest that have popped up there that I think are good possibilities for Tennessee in terms of, if you hired them, that would be a good thing. Mm-hmm. So there's some, and if these are the kinds of names that Tennessee's really getting involved with, and that's really what's happening, that's good news. That's good news for Tennessee. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But if you remember the program yesterday, toward the end of it, we kept talking about, hey, there's something going on here, and we're trying to confirm it. But sorry to be weird. We'll talk about it if we can get it confirmed before 4 o'clock. We couldn't. But then right after 4 o'clock, naturally, because of course, did get it confirmed that Cade Phillips will be out for the season. That's not good news for the Tennessee basketball team, obviously. The junior forward has never been a high scorer. He's not a volume shooter. That's not his game. He is a dynamite defensive player. He is a guy who you throw lobs to at the rim. He's an energy guy. He's one of those guys that you kind of need. Like, you look at the production and it doesn't say what that person's role is necessarily. And he's been, if you've noticed for the past couple of years, really, he's had that thing on his shoulder and they've tried to get it under control. They thought it'd be under control, and then it pops up again because he plays hard. He plays really hard,
Right.
and he has re-injured that thing, and it reached a point, I think, when he re-injured it recently that they took a step back and they said, okay, we're right at the line now where you could still qualify for a red shirt. And what are you realistically going to be able to do this season? Let's look at the depth on the team. Let's look at your future. Let's spread this out a little bit. I think it was the sensible decision to make. Now, again, Elijah, that takes – Tennessee still got really good front court depth. It really does. But it's not just the absolute tremendous depth that it was before, because Phillips is a lot more important, I think, than numbers suggest he is.
Yeah, I agree too. I think for Phillips, first of all, it's a devastating injury. You know, like you said, they were nurturing it since last year. Well, since the beginning of the year in January.
Since last season too. I mean, it's been there.
Yeah. So I think that, it opens doors. Open doors for somebody like Dwayne Brown, who I think is a really good player. It's going to open a door for him and see what he can do off the bench, because Akpara is going to be your guy and for center wise, and then my man who just hurt his knee, Estrella, JP. We know they're going to be the two guys, right? But I think that when we talk about depth, I think this opened my eyes for Dwayne Brown, because Dwayne Brown actually played well against Duke. Mm-hmm. Dwayne Brown played well in his minutes that they give him. So now that just opens the door for him. And then for Cade, it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, because I feel like his role was really, really huge. It's like, you know, if you're coming in, he started one game, but if you're coming in for JP, you don't really see a major drop-off. Like, you know that, okay, he can be as productive as a JP, but
just in different ways. But same level of
he could be as productive. So, but this opened the door for Dwayne Brown, and to see what he can do offensively and defensively with the team. But you just hurt for Cade, but you know the show got to go on, right? So you got to see what you could do, especially with SEC play coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, and they're just different kinds of players, right? Like it's. Dwayne Brown is very athletic. You watch him run around, he's athletic, but Phillips is just more, I guess, explosive in some ways, like in terms of the twitch, in terms of, you know, he and Akpara get up to a different level to throw those lobs down. I mean, they are fast risers, high risers, and they soar. And Phillips he'll get physical with you, but Brown is a little heavier, and he probably has a little more mass in there to be able to bang. And what I really like about Dwayne Brown, I say this, and it's funny because I need to ask Rick Barnes this question, because sometimes I'll think something about a guy or about the game, and Rick Barnes will say something that's the complete opposite. I'm like, I bet Rick Barnes is right and I'm wrong. Just that's like my general thinking on no one's infallible, but if you and a Hall of Fame basketball coach have a difference of opinion on something schematically within the game of basketball or fundamentally, let's just say the Hall of Fame coach is probably the one who's correct. So I need to double check this. But when I look at Dwayne Brown, I look at a guy who knows what he is right now as a player. And I don't think he tries to get outside of that. And as a freshman, that's so important. Because as a freshman, you're thinking about development, right? I mean, if you're Nate Ament, you're thinking about, like, I'm going to be in the league next year, right? But, like, if you're Dwayne Brown, you're kind of a classic college player where you're going to take a few years, become a project to get where you want to go as a player and all that. But you have to kind of have two minds at the same time, because you're thinking in practice and all these things about, here's how I can evolve my game. Here's how I can step out a little bit offensively, show a little bit more range, like Akpar has done this season, do some of that stuff. But when it's game time, right now I know what I am. Mm-hmm. I'm a rim runner. I'm a hover around the post kind of guy. I'm going to set some screens. I'm going to go attack the glass hard on both ends. I'm going to body you. I'm going to use my physicality. That's important to know, okay, when it's practice, this is what I'm working on for the future. But, like, right now, this is what I am, and this is how I can help this team. That's so important for a freshman, I think.
And you know who his game remind me of? Like, we talk about it all the time. Like I say, Nate reminds me of Kevin Durant. We talked about that. Dwayne This is a tough one.
I think I know where you're going.
Gives me Ben Wallace.
Oh, see, I was thinking a little bit of almost like a Zebo in some ways.
Oh
too.
yeah.
You know, kind of.
Only thing with Zebo had a mid range. I don't know where Dwayne Brown if he
I think
he
he can do that. Now it's not going to be it's not like a polished mid range game right now, but the shot clock's going down. He can sit there and take a shot. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like when you watch Akpara do it. You're like, oh, you do have some touch. Like you're not hoping, you're not heaving and hoping. You know what I mean? Like you're not doing that. So. I like that, but I think there are times where, for instance, like there will be a shot that Cade Phillips would swat that I don't know if Brown's going to get up there and go get. Or, you know, there might be more times where you're throwing the lob if you're throwing it a little bit lower. And I'm not saying the kid can't jump. The kid can jump.
Yeah.
He's 6'9", he dunked the basketball hard. Like, he's a good athlete, right? Says the chunky guy sitting here. But, like, I'm just saying in terms of, like, the twitchiness, when you watch Akpar or Phillips get up, they're different kinds of athletes, or Ament, right? Those guys that just kind of glide and soar. And he's not one of those. But he can bang. And if you play him with somebody who can stretch the floor a little bit, like an Estrella, now maybe an Akpara, right? Like, certainly an Ament if he's in that situation at times. Like, you're pairing him with somebody who can stretch it out a little bit, then he can do what he does, and now you've got a nice 4 or 5 situation there.
And that's why I think his role fit, because I feel like Dwayne he can do the dirty work. You're not asking Dwayne to go out there and be JP, go to the wing and get a couple buckets like that. You're not asking him to be Akpara and things of that nature. I just think that this is the time for Dwayne to do the dirty work. It's time for him to do the dirty work.
I'm trying not to laugh over here. Keep talking. I'm just laughing because I accidentally with my with my tea/bourbon cup
I
over
saw
here.
That. I mean, we all saw that.
Like I saw that, and then I'm just looking at Tom just back there. He's got a look that's like I'm smiling, but if you were with arms reach,
tempted to take your camera there just for a second, to show that off, but because I thought better against it.
The look that was on Tom's face was like it was equal parts like, one, that's funny. 2, if you were within arm's reach, I would hit you right now.
The reason why I was kind of like smirking there is because your reaction to bumping your ice cup there was pretty classic. To be honest.
But go on. I'm sorry, Elijah. Go on. If you're wondering why I'm just sitting here laughing, that was why you heard
laugh about an ice cup hitting the microphone.
You heard the clang.
Hilarious.
You had to have heard the clang.
Stuff.
You had to have heard it. But anyway, go on.
But that's how I feel. I feel personally that he could play really well, and I think that Dwayne is going to do the dirty work. I think that's going to be his role for the rest of the year. And I just want to see if he's up to the challenge because, like I said, Rick's not going to ask him to do the other stuff to me. He's not going to ask him to do too much of the other stuff. And he proved himself to me. Like, against Duke, I know I keep saying Duke, and I know they play Kansas. I know they play Syracuse. I know they play Houston. But Duke, to me, is a team that is going to be there at the end.
And Boozer's a dude.
Boozer's a dude. So, with his measuring stick in that game was like, okay, that's his ceiling. Like, with the way how he played in that game, the offensive rebounds, the defensive rebounds, the way how he was getting up and down the court, I'm like, that's your ceiling. You can go, Dwayne. Like, I think you're a guy that can go. And if you're coming off the bench, I don't know if the 6th or the 7th guy, I don't know what the rotation is for Rick right now.
Depends on who he hates the least that day. Usually is what it comes down to, if I'm honest.
Whatever your number is for the rotation, I feel like he can give you great quality minutes in two halves of basketball.
And what I liked about Brown in that game, and I don't know if it's because it was an exhibition. I don't know if it's because, just the name itself was Duke, but then you knew it was an exhibition, so you didn't have to worry about as much. I don't know exactly what it was or what caused it, but he played with absolutely zero fear in that game. And he was Dwayne Brown III was not a small prospect. Like, he was a good prospect. Tennessee and others did want him. Now, I don't know how much some of Bama or Auburn, because of the way they play specifically, I don't know if they valued him as much as like a Tennessee would with that style. But he was not a small prospect. But he was nowhere in the same stratosphere as guys like Boozer and Ament. And, I could see where a guy like that, you go against a guy like that, one of two things can happen, right? You can either kind of get swallowed up by the moment, or it can fuel you to do some stuff. And it's not like he stopped Boozer. Look, Boozer had 87 rebounds in that game. Like, he's a dynamic player. He is awesome. And there were times where whoever was guarding him didn't matter. But what I liked was there were times, if you go back and watch some of that game, not many people were ever able to get a rebound that Boozer wanted. A couple times Dwayne Brown did, and he went right at him offensively. He attacked him. He went shoulder to shoulder, chest to chest with him, and was like, okay, let's go. And from that moment on, I was like, I'm gonna like this dude, because he's not gonna sit there and take 25-footers, right? He's not gonna dribble between his legs and spin around and do all these crazy things. Like, he isn't some ways an old school big man, but in the modern game. So he's got some more polish to his game than you would have like 20 or 30 years ago. But I loved the demeanor that he had in that game. And I think he's a freshman, so there's going to be times, even look at people like Ament, right? You're going to have moments where they just don't have it that day, or they just don't. And it's what's tough for Rick Barnes, I think, is that first off, he loves Cade Phillips. Everybody does. Everybody in the program loves Cade Phillips. If you know anything about him and his family, just outstanding people.
Sure.
He has been a leader in some ways since he got there, and that's just who he is as a person. But and you see it in the quotes that the statement Barnes put out about him, talking about how important he was to everybody. But what you like about Cade Phillips is that for the most part, and now that he hadn't been playing well lately, and now people know why, because that shoulder been flaring up again. Mm-hmm. But when he wasn't really, really hurt, you knew what you were getting out of him.
Yes.
And as a coach, this is why it's all the time. It's people they ask coaches, why are you playing that guy when the other guy could be way better? Mm-hmm. And what most coaches would tell you is, yes, he could be way better. He also could be way worse. If I can have a couple spots on the floor where I know what I'm getting, I can build around that. I can build around if I don't know anything, if I have no pillars to put in the ground, I got no foundation for the house. Give me something that I know I'm getting. It doesn't have to be the absolute biggest thing. It really doesn't have to be. It's just, but it's got to be a couple guys at a couple spots at least where you know I'm getting that. So here's the 4 guys I'm going to put around him when he's out there.
And another thing is what I like about it for Brown. Good teams and great teams is one thing separates. I think Tennessee is a really good team, but they need an enforcer, and I think that's what Brown could be.
Think he could be?
Yeah.
As a freshman, step in there?
Somebody. If you're not from around here, get from around here.
Somebody say something with his chest?
Yes.
Hey, I'm all for that.
Knock him on his butt.
He's big enough to do that. And, what I like, though, is that even though he can be a little erratic and he's never – I hate to say never or always. I don't like those words. But I don't think that Jalen Carey's ever going to be a consistent, you-know-what-you're-getting everyday guy. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to go out there and do what he does, and you just hope it's a good day. It's kind of like you get on a roller coaster, you don't control where it goes. You're just sitting there.
I say this: it's hopefully if Dwayne becomes that enforcer, like I just said, it rubs off on Jalen, and Jalen say, "You know what? No, it's my turn," and he knocks somebody in the butt.
Because I love when people go up for a rebound against Jalen Carey, and they just bounce off of him like he's a trampoline.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's every bit of 270, and he's a big guy.
He's a big dude,
and he's also not the most explosive leaper, because at 270 really nobody is. You know what I mean? But Tennessee still has good pieces there in the front court, and now I don't. You have to be careful how you say these things. Sometimes you do get addition by subtraction in terms of it sharpens everyone's mindset or sharpens everyone's role. Like now, Rick Barnes for the rest of the season will have one less piece to tinker with. Mm-hmm. We know Rick likes to tinker. By the end of the season, it's a little more solidified. But especially early in the season, you might play 25 minutes one game and 3 the next. And that's just kind of how it's going to be, because he's trying to set a message. He's trying to figure out what his rotations are. He's trying to figure out who he can trust, who he can't trust. And I do think there are times where, again, who am I to question one of the better coaches in the sport? But he tinkers a lot, maybe too much at times. And I think that was always one of the concerns with this team, was that you were going to have all these pieces and you would have trouble kind of putting them in the right spots or finding what works and what doesn't, or you're not going to have any fluidity with your rotations or, chemistry and these kinds of things. Maybe with one less cook in the kitchen now with the big men, maybe it sharpens everyone's role. Maybe everyone's like, okay, now I know I'm going to play at least 10 minutes every game unless I foul out because I have to, right? And so for some guys, that makes them better. And you'd like to say the competition makes them better because that's what you want. But sometimes it's knowing that you're going to be out there no matter what frees you up to go be you.
Yeah, and this is the perfect time for the team to do that. Now, the thing is,
they do have 10 days or whatever to figure this out.
They're just, like, to me, do I think they were better than Kansas, Syracuse? I did. I just think that they're just young and they're trying to figure some pieces out. Like, what did Josh Heupel and them say? Young guys don't have time to be young. That's how we don't have time for them to be young or whatever. Nate doesn't have. If they want to go where they think they could go, Nate doesn't have time to be young. Not saying he doesn't have room because he has plenty of room.
Yeah, he's got a little time, but not an infinite.
Not too much time because you got SEC coming around. For the same thing for Dwayne, now that he's probably going to get this new role, you don't have time to be. You got to fit right in and you got to go right to it because I think this is a very talented team. I think this team, if not a Final Four, then a Final Two. I think you can really go into that lane with Tennessee Volunteers.
Oh, I see that upside for sure, and I've said that from the beginning. And I'm not going to let a 3-game losing streak, frustrating as it is. None of those games are at home. Like it's okay. Like I still saw what I saw early in the season, and I still think that could be there. I think what's interesting is that we all heard Rick Barnes say this after the game. He said these guys know what they need to do, and they're not doing it. They know what we have to do to win, and they're not doing it. But then he turns around a little bit later and says these guys just don't know what it takes to win. And so I'm trying to parse those two things together and be like, okay, it's got to be one of them. I don't think it could be both of them, but sometimes you just get that stream of conscious with Rick, and it's kind of fun. You just go on a ride. But I think I understand kind of what he's saying in both ways there, even though they're contradictory in a way. Like, I think he sees what they can do.
Right.
And in his mind, I think he knows what they can do. And I think he's, to this point, he and the staff have not gotten this team to understand just what they can be. It's like the scene in Moneyball, the movie, which I don't think was in the book. I think it was just in the movie. I think they added this just for the movie. But I have to go back and read it again to be sure. But when Billy Beane walks into that A's dressing room when they're all struggling, and he's like, you guys don't know you're a winning team, but you are one. So go play like one. Because he was sitting there, they had done the work metrically on paper and been like, we know what this team should be. We see it. We see it here. And we're not getting it there. So what do we need? Time. We need time to show that, and we need them to be more confident, basically. And so you try to find ways to do that. And, Rick's more stick than carrot. He just is. That's just how that's how Uncle Rick is, right? I mean, that's what he does. But if these guys can battle through that and find out that he's right about them, I think they're okay. But no matter who's playing and who's not, let's start with very simple things. Let's throw the ball where you're supposed to throw it. Let's catch the ball when it comes to you. Let's keep the feet in bounds. Let's do those three things first. If I'm sitting there talking to the guys, again, I'm 0 wins and 0 losses as a coach, but 0 wins. But I would start the conversation with, guys, listen, let's be where we're supposed to be. Let's throw the ball to the chest. unless you're throwing it for a lob, then throw it up for a lob. Bounce when you need to, chest it when you can't. Do what you got to do. Throw the ball where you're supposed to. Guys, catch the ball before you shoot it or pass it again. You first have to catch it. So, hey, let's sit here and throw some passes to each other. Mm-hmm. If I need to make my point, let's sit here for 30 minutes just throwing passes to each other. And if you drop one, we're starting again.
Yeah.
You're going to sit here. It's not going to make you tired because you're just sitting here catching passes. But you'll sit here and throw passes to each other. And if anything but a bounce pass hits the ground, the clock starts again. You got to do this for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. No ball's hitting the ground. Let's do this until you guys understand. Catch the ball.
So it's funny you say that.
And then make sure your feet are in bounds. I know it's easy to say when they got clown feet. Like some of their – you look at some of their shoe size and you're like, that's like 3 shoes for somebody else. So it's hard sometimes to make sure you're behind the 3-point line but in bounds in the corner. Like it's not easy to do that. Plus you got a guy who's trying to push you out of bounds. So it's not quite as simple as we make it sound, but let's start there.
It's funny you say that. My dad, he used to do stuff with when we get in trouble with different punishments, and one of them, his favorite was go run a hill until he get tired.
Nice.
How is he getting tired if he's not running his hill? Right.
It's tired to watch it. It's mentally exhausting. You get hungry, you get thirsty. What if it's hot outside or cold? You don't want to stand around when it's cold.
No, man.
You can get numb.
I couldn't stand that one. It was the run the hill till you get tired, the monkey crawls and around the house. You got to go like this and walk around for a couple minutes. Couldn't get it wasn't the best.
I mean, I think there are times where with the team, you can even do things like, what we're going to do today? We're going to practice putting our uniform on. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand around. Everybody, is your shirt tucked? Because now you don't have to tuck them anymore, I guess. But just for the sake of argument, let's say you still got to tuck it.
Yeah.
Is your shirt tucked? Are your shoes tied? Do your socks match? Do you have on the right shirt and the right shorts? And people are like, why are you doing this? Because everything matters. If we can't do these little things right, how can we go out there and run this complex offense? You can't even look at some of you can't even get your uniforms on right. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? Details. That's where it, and then from that you graduate to, we're going to throw passes until for 15 or 20 minutes the ball doesn't hit the floor. And we're just going to do that until this is why you do these same. It's why you do these same drills every single day. Like for football teams, especially the ones who run the mesh and RPO stuff, they practice that every day and they never want it on camera because it is such a staple of their offense that you have to be able to do it without thinking. You have to just instinctually know, oh, I got to go here. I got to go there. And in basketball, it's why you run those kind of transition drills every day. You're going up and down, you're throwing the ball. It doesn't touch the ground more than once. Get it end to end, 3 guys, put it in the bucket, never hits the ground. Right. You do these things all the time because you have to be able to do them when there's pressure. You have to be able to do them when you're tired. You have to be able to do it when you're having a bad day. These are like the fundamental staples for what you are as a team. These sorts of very basic movements. And when you're sitting there just dropping passes, or you're sitting there and a guy goes left when he should go right, and one of them reads the defense wrong, and a simple pass goes into the third row, like that, you can't, mistakes happen.
Right.
But the margins are small at the highest levels of every sport. And that's where I imagine for Rick Barnes, and I imagine for fans watching that has to be the very worst part of it, is because you know how difficult this game is, even when you're doing the most basic things right. So when you're not doing the most basic things, you can't win. You can't win. If you're going to turn the ball over this much and you're going to shoot like 50% from the free throw line, you're not going to beat a good team. Probably. You're just not. Illinois is one of the biggest most physically imposing teams in the country. I mean, they're got the 7'1" Twins. They got some 6'10" guys too. They're big, European grain-fed boys over there. They got some Eastern Europeans who are like big dudes. They're big guys. Tennessee massacred Illinois on the boards. Massacred them. It was like by 15 or 20 rebounds they had rebounded. It was crazy. But Tennessee shot horribly from the free throw line. And Tennessee had multiple turnovers that were a guy catching the ball with his foot out of bounds, a guy under the bucket dropping a pass because even though it wasn't the worst pass, he wasn't really expecting it because Tennessee could have milked more clock before it got to there. So you've got guys not on the same page. It's like you have to do the little things. And that's what's different for me from this Rick Barnes team is that there have been times where Tennessee usually goes into a season really well drilled. And in fact, sometimes we've made the mistake, all of us have, of thinking a Tennessee team is maybe better than it is because they've just already maximized what they can do because that's how well they're coached going into the season. Like they're not making these boneheaded mistakes in bunches early in the season like most teams do. And so they're beating teams that maybe if they played them again in March, it might be different. But they're already drilled enough to do that. And this team is just not doing that. And I don't know if it's because after, they both played 27 seasons at Tennessee, Meshack and Ziegler are gone. And Gillespie's having a hard time kind of picking up on some stuff because he's running the show while being more of a scorer and doing – maybe that's part of it.
But that's the thing that kills me because I think that I don't like to say, Zakai, if he was on this team, then they just have to find a guard that could just put people in the right place. Nate Ament is not a guy – he doesn't bring up the ball, but –
sometimes, but not often.
Not often, right? But you just want to get him to his spot. Like, this offense doesn't need a guard, to me, that's like a scorer. This offense need a guard that could just put people in the right places. Like, hey, you're here, boom. You're here, boom. Because Jacoby Gillespie is a scorer. Like,
they play him off early in the year. That's why sometimes they're playing him off the ball and Henderson on the ball.
See, because Gillespie's more of a guy that he could create his own. I'm not saying he can't create for others, but I just think he's more of a guy that can create his own than to create for others. They just need somebody who's just – I'm not looking to come down there and find my own shot. I'm looking for, okay, Nate wants to be over here, boom. Jacoby could be over here, boom. Okay, Akpara, I see you here, set the screen, and I can get you a little alley here. That's all. That's what the offense is missing. Somebody who could be a floor general and getting people into their favorite spots or their good spots and just going from there. Because I think Tennessee has 4 guys that can give you 20. But they just got to find one guy who can give you 20 assists.
If they would, I think there are times where with Ziegler, and I'm not saying anything. It's hard to say anything with Ziegler was taken for granted because Zakai Ziegler is one of the more popular, beloved players in terms of how a fan base feels about a guy. He's at the high end of one of the most beloved guys I've ever covered in terms of how the fan base sort of felt about him. So I don't want to say that there's anything about him that was undervalued or underappreciated. But everybody could see like, oh, look at all this stuff he's doing defensively.
Right.
And even more so than like you didn't have to go deep into the efficiency numbers to just watch the game and say, oh man, that guy is just crushing the other team just with his defense. He is taking their will to live as a defensive player at the head of the snake, hounding their point guard for 94 feet, yelling at him, buzzing around him like a fly on like a hot day. You know what I mean? He's just there all the time, and he's creating havoc. You can't get lower than him, and you can't be quicker than him, and he's just gonna be there. And if you try to run over him, he's gonna stand his ground, and you're gonna get called for a charge. Like he's got an answer for all of these things, and he pops up because you can't see him coming. You know, it's like I got a corgi at home. Like they're like that. Like they come around from the side, you can't see them coming. They're low to the ground. You can't see them. They get up on you. You're there. They're there, and so people could see that. But I think if there was something people didn't see as much with Ziegler, it's the fact that the offense ran how it was supposed to be run. That didn't mean that shots were made, because sometimes Tennessee was just missing shots.
Right.
You know, but guys understood, like guys did not argue with Ziegler on where they were supposed to be. If you threw a pass somewhere, if Sakai Ziegler threw a pass and it went out of bounds, it's because somebody else was in the wrong spot. He didn't throw the ball. He threw the ball to the right spot. You weren't there. You were supposed to be there. Like he would throw passes to guys like, guys, I'm throwing it into the space where you need to be. Pay attention. I'm giving you a bucket here. Pay attention. Keep your head up. Everywhere you're going, keep your eyes on me. I'm going to hit you where you're going, and I'm going to get you a layup. And I know exactly where you need to shoot from. I'm going to pass it to where I know where Rick Barnes has told me you make 80% of your open jumpers from here. So I'm running this play to get you to that spot. So you better be there, because that's where I'm throwing the ball.
Yes.
That kind of stuff like that. And I think that's where – and part of it's because Ziegler was just a natural point guard, and the other part of it was he'd been there forever, right? Like he'd been there for 4 years. So you saw that. Like Gillespie just kind of got here.
Right.
So that's – it is what it is. And he's going to have to score – because that's part of the reason why Tennessee, frankly, is paying him the money they're paying him.
Yeah.
Call it what it is, because he also can score the ball at a high level. But he's turning it over too much, and I don't think he'll do that all year. But the sooner he gets that cleared up, the better, because it's not all on him.
It's not.
He's not the one dropping some of these passes.
And if that's the thing. That's where I say, like, it's not all on him, because like you just said, they catch the ball out of bounds, they drop the ball, but it's just like I said, I just feel like if I don't know all the players, I don't really know them personally, but if you have one unselfish player who knows they can really score about 10 to 15 a night, but they know, hey, my role is to get the people involved, that if you have one unselfish player like that, then maybe Boswell, maybe, right? I'll let him run the show. Only for the simple fact that that's the only thing I feel like I'm missing offensively, because Nate can score. Akpara, I feel like, has moments. JP can go out there and score. Gillespie could go.
He can go.
Gillespie could go.
He could have a 40 burger at some point.
Yes, he can go. If you got that one guy who just, like, it's like, okay, back in the day, if you really watch basketball, when you had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Rajon Rondo on a team. Rajon Rondo clearly wasn't. Rajon Rondo clearly wasn't a shooter, but Rajon Rondo would rather give you 20 assists than whatever points that he probably scored, and he had the guys to do it. Okay, I could get Kevin Garnett
because he darn sure couldn't shoot most.
No,
of the time.
He couldn't shoot.
I remember covering him in college. He couldn't shoot. I remember, and I'm not saying like the dude bad. Like he really good player, just not a shooter.
But he could get the offense going.
Yeah.
If you can get the offense going and get the other guys going, that's a dangerous trait. And that's why the only thing I say about Tennessee. If they could get somebody like that, and hopefully it's a Boswell, I think they'll be right in the right direction. Or maybe Amari.
Yeah, he's still kind of sitting there as a wild card. Like there's games where he might be one of those guys who sometimes he's playing 18 minutes and sometimes he's playing more like 8 or 7, maybe just kind of depends. But he'll play some defense. He doesn't look super twitchy, but his arms look like they're 15 feet long. Like he just gets involved in stuff, and he can rip the ball out of there. He can poke it out of there. He knows how to play defense. He takes pride in his defense. And, and if you leave him open, he can put a 3 between your eyes. So, yeah, I like what he's doing as a player. And I think with some of the sloppiness, one of the reasons why I do think it will get better. First off, Rick Barnes will not tolerate it. He will put he'll find whatever they got and put them out there for 40 minutes. I've seen him do it. Play guys that he's like, at least they're not going to turn it over. They're going to run the offense. I'll put a walk-on out there. He'll do it to prove a point. He will. I've seen him do it. But I think as Gillespie gets to know his teammates more, I think some of this stuff will clean up. And I also think, and this is what I like that Barnes is doing. There's a lot of things even though the results haven't been great for the past week, I like that for the most part he is letting Ament play through this stuff. Because there's no version of this Tennessee team that's as good as it can be without him being him.
Exactly.
And without him being what you think he can be by the end of the season. Exactly. And it's not – Rick Barnes normally – I've seen this, especially with young point guards. But one time you catch the ball with your foot out of bounds, one time, you're not playing for the next few minutes. They know it, and they know it. As soon as they make some mistakes, you'll see them immediately start going to the scorer's table at the next whistle. They know they're coming out. They know they are. And that is an old school way of teaching people using the bench. It's like that old Bob Knight, when you sit somebody on the bench, that the force of their butt hitting the bench sends those waves up to the brain that let you know you're doing something wrong. Basically, is a horribly summarized way that I just put his quote. But that was the general message. Is that's what it was, and he said it much more eloquently because he's a smarter guy than me. But I like with Ament, and there's been times where he's taken him out for a couple minutes. But he's done it more often when it's like, one, the kid's tired, or two, he did not take an open shot. Because he's like, no, I don't care if you're 0 for 10. That's a clean look. You need to be taking it. That's going to start going in. And it's frustrating now. It's really frustrating because his turnover numbers in some games, you look at them and then you look at what they're actually doing. It's got to be nearing double digits of times this season where he's caught a pass with a foot out of bounds or drifted out of bounds on one of those. It's got to be nearly that many. It's wild. Or just zigging when he should zag or not on the same page with a teammate. And these are things that a lot of players for Barnes would get benched for. But he's letting Ament, for the most part, play through him. And I think it's absolutely the right call because – we say it almost every day here. You treat everybody fairly, but you don't treat everybody the same. You need this guy by the end of the season to be like the number 3 overall pick that he can be. You need that. That's why you brought him here. That's why Reebok's already signed him to a lucrative shoe deal, and why he's wearing plain all white Nikes with no paint anywhere on them, no more, because he's a Reebok guy, but he, You got to keep the check. He's got to wear a swoosh, but ain't nobody says it's got to be a bright one, And business, man, smart. But you invest all this in somebody and all this time and all this effort and frankly all this money. You have to get them to where they need to be, and you have to pick your battles on when you want to do what is in your head the right thing to do, which is bench a freshman for doing something dumb. But it's like, no, kind of need you. And now there will be times in certain games, especially if they're chasing a game, they're coming from behind, where he's going to have to play the 4. Which at 6'11", you're like, oh, that's okay. You can already tell. Like, Illinois was more capable of this than others, but other teams have done it and can do it. Just get into them. Just take a guy who's not as skilled, but he's older, he's thicker, push him, bang on him. Illinois did it, or Houston did it literally the first play of the game.
Yeah.
Basically, when Emmanuel Sharp basically wrestled him, they wrestled to the ground. He was like, "Come here, young pup, I'm going to show you something." And he took the bait, and Ament got called for the foul. And like, people can push him off his spot. People can, and he has to learn to play through that. And it might cost you a game here or there. It's arguably cost Tennessee a game or so already. But this isn't football. You have time. The Houston win and some other wins have given you a little bit in the bank. You're good. You need him. So, hey, sometimes if you go out there and he just learns by failing.
I agree. Now, I got to ask you this because I know we winded down on time. fantasy football has started its playoffs, man. Talk to me, Wes. What's your squad looking like? Do you think you can win it all? Are you the top dog in your fantasy football league?
I was early in the season. Then we started taking on a little bit of water. We made the playoffs.
Okay, you there.
But what's really frustrating is and I didn't play for a few years. People are like, you're a sports guy, you didn't play. No, I didn't play fantasy football for years. This season, my family got me back into it. And it's mostly, we got a 12-team league, and it's mostly like brother, sister, their spouses, cousins. And I came in third place. My 2 siblings were in front of me. So it's a little bit of a sore topic right now. But it's, the Travis Hunter injury did not help me. He was kind of he was starting to produce a little bit more at the flex spot. I still think I could win it all, but I'm not. Vegas wouldn't have me as the favorite now.
Okay.
But because you got in, like, you're in the league with some of like our bosses, and you're trying to take down the top dog.
Oh, yeah,
which I think is commendable. I mean, that is, that you go hard in the paint.
Listen, first, I didn't, it didn't look good for me in the first couple of weeks, but then I pulled off like a 3-game win streak, and then I lost one and, won another one. Only thing that saved me is that I scored a lot of points. I'm like the 6th seed. I think that's the last seed as I'm going in there. And I tell you the secret, Annie Carr picked my team. Annie picked my team.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are you admitting this publicly?
Because, I got to tell you, she's really the football savant,
I mean,
savant, I'm sorry. She's a football savant. She's
she knows maybe savant means you're classy and savant. You're combining words.
You're savvy and
yeah.
She's a savant. She understands what she's doing. She she picked it out, and you got to shout out Annie.
Honestly, I'd give props to Annie too. I trust her.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Annie picked it out. Annie picked out the team.
I mean, I think it's interesting that you would admit that publicly. I commend you for that. That is that is not something that a lot of people would just go out there and admit. But I mean, hey, man.
Hey, look.
I mean, is she managing your team? Is she setting your lineup?
You know what?
Be honest. Is she setting your lineup too?
I would love for her to do it. She didn't do it yet. I'm gonna ask her. I'm gonna ask her soon.
Save that for the playoffs, huh?
Question two.
Save for the
question
playoffs.
two.
Save that little bit for the playoffs, there.
Is that? I know it's collusion in spirit, but is it collusion in law? How would the rest of the league react to this news?
Well,
because there are other people who are in that league who are in this building. I don't care, dude. I'm not snitching. If somebody else is listening to this, that's they're picking
is
up.
there
I'm
like
not telling
a
them.
secrecy rule going on here that your fantasy team can only be managed by yourself and you alone?
Hey, listen.
Because I think if not, then I think it's fair game.
She got me to the playoffs with this roster.
Man,
you
There you go.
And a lot of people don't know Annie knows a lot about football. She knows a lot.
I mean, she's got football stuff all over her office. I would imagine that.
You know what I mean?
I think it was just decoration.
No, man, she knows.
So you're saying when she's sitting there sometimes quiet in the sports meeting, she's just sitting there knowing stuff and not saying it?
She's a definition of the power team.
About that?
Yeah. I think we need to bring her on, Wes. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we need to grill Annie on her secret here.
We do. I don't think she'd come on today because she's a little bit under the weather.
Well, no, not today.
She's like Elijah was. She's had a little bit. She's had a little bit of that bronchitis.
I mean, I was getting over something similar last week.
Something just a little bit. You can still hear it with Elijah over here. He's got a little bit of that.
Yeah,
he's got a little bit of that.
A
little bit of that bronchitis going on over there. But it's what a fantasy football team doesn't need, but Tennessee does, is a defensive coordinator.
They do.
I don't know if you knew that. If you were listening to the show,
it's been running on the bottom of the screen there on our little.
Yeah, if you can
ticker.
read and our ticker, which by the way for the vertical videos, I'm going to figure that out. That was hilarious.
We'll cover it up.
I was messing with trying to make some vertical videos yesterday, which for me when I'm doing that stuff, it reminds me of like that Steve Buscemi gif where it's like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like, when he's walking around like, I know what I'm doing here. I'm smart with all this technology stuff. Whereas the truth is about a decade ago, I stopped knowing some of these things. Like I used to be on the cutting edge of this stuff. And now I'm like,
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but vertical video was around more than 10 years ago.
Oh, I know, but
right?
I'm talking about like this system that we
the
use,
system that we're using
like that
now.
we used to do it.
because
So,
we're getting hip and
like
in
anytime
it.
I use a new system, it'll be Justin or Shelby or somebody to just yell, "Kids, kids, come in here, kids!" And one of them will come in there and be like, "Oh, you're so old and stupid," and then they'll help me with that. But yesterday, no, this is a true story. Yesterday, brought them over and I was like, "So why is this doing this?" And they both immediately went, "I don't know. That's weird." Like, what'd you do? I'm like, I didn't do anything. Why are you assuming I did something? But regardless, we're gonna get that sorted. But we'll just cover it up. But if some of these names, if Tennessee is really in there for like a Ryan Walters, which is a word that some other people threw around yesterday, and then I made some texts and calls, and they're like, no, there's something there, then that would be a tremendous hire. If Tennessee, and I'm just saying this is just one of the options, but he is the former Purdue head coach. He's the defensive coordinator at Washington this season, and Washington's defense changed like very quickly when he got in there. And he has worked with Heupel before at a couple places, so he knows how to run defense while you're operating within a system where your own offense goes fast. So there's some familiarity there, which is a good thing. But it's also some new blood. He's young. I don't even think he's 40 yet. That would be something that would be appealing because he's also been a head coach before. And I think if you're Heupel's defensive coordinator, in some ways you are just the head coach for defense because you're given – now he's still making the biggest decisions, but you're given a lot of levity, you're given a lot of wiggle room. You're given a lot of freedom to go make some of your own decisions. And if it's somebody that there's already natural trust there to begin with, that makes sense to me. Because this is a big year for Heupel. So
for sure.
And I'm not saying that he has to know the person he's hiring, because that's not necessarily true. Normally, if you can get somebody to vouch for somebody you trust to vouch for the guy, then that's usually enough, because these people trust each other on that level, like to the nth degree. And so, but I know that historically, and I've seen this a lot of places, when coaches are in, I don't want to say tough spots, because Heupel's he's not in, they're all tough spots, but he's in a spot where there's just a little bit more pressure now, just a little bit. And historically, the people that I've been around tend to go with somebody they know in that situation, because they think if I'm putting this all on the line, if that's a possibility, then I got to have somebody I know at least a little bit. I gotta have somebody I know at least a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm happy you said Ryan. I didn't look at none of his stuff schematically. Like I did some interviews, like searching with interviews and stuff like that. And what I really like about him is because I believe defense is like 90% confidence, and then 10%
knowing where you're supposed to be.
Being where you're supposed to be. Because I'm be honest with you, to me it's no tougher position than somebody who's running backwards full speed to somebody who's coming at you full speed. Like that's a tough position if you're a safety or a corner. And then linebackers, how confident can you be that you're the baddest person on the field? Along with the defensive line, you got to feel like you're the baddest person on the field. And I feel like when you talk to, or when you saw Ryan post games or any type of pregame interviews, it was like he was installing that in people. And I think that's number one for me. The number two, like I didn't see anything schematically yet. But a lot of people praised him about his scoring defense, of how he can get turnovers and score a lot defensively.
He'll load the line a little bit. He'll mix it up front. He's not afraid to use 5-down linemen.
See, yeah.
And I think he tries really hard, as far as I could tell, to kind of blow up plays before they start. And if you put more guys on the line, it usually gives your linebackers a little more freedom or a little cleaner lanes to operate in. So everything you do in football, if you give, you got to get. Like that's –
right.
There's no perfect setup, but I like some of the concepts I've seen from him. And it could be something where he's so he can just use whatever he's got, which you have to do.
You have to do it.
Especially in college. You got to find a way to get your best 11 out there.
And you don't know who it is, but you know at the same time you got to make those guys look like geniuses in the right spot. I mean, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people be like, oh, 5-star, 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 but a lot of people get a lot of 3 or 4 stars, and if you can make that 3 or 4 star look like a 5-star, you're a really good coach.
If you make them 5-star by draft day, that's good enough too.
Yeah, like you're a really good coach if you could do that. Like so, at the end of the day, again, like I said, I didn't see anything schematically yet. I know some other guys that they're looking into, but I'm just waiting to see how it all pans out, and I want to do more research on this guy too.
And we are, and the reason why we mentioned this right before we step out of here today is because, well, we talked a lot about Cade Phillips today, and we'll see but what's going on there, and we'll have more basketball to discuss throughout the week. But I think we'll probably, if nothing else crazy happens, shift back more to a little more football tomorrow. And if Tennessee hasn't hired its defensive coordinator by then, we're going to need to be able to give you more names. We're going to have to tell you where to be looking, who to look into, who do you support, who do you not, who you picking up the pitchforks for, and who are you trying to send the pitchforks at? You know what I mean? Like we'll get you pointed in that direction. Actually, we won't, because you do what you want. We just tell you what we think. We don't tell you what to think. I don't tell Tom what to think. I don't tell Elijah what to think. I don't tell anybody what to think, except for my kid. He has to do what I say. Nobody else has to. But thank you for being here, Elijah. Thank you to Tom for hitting all the buttons today. We'll have a lot more fun tomorrow. Got a big week coming up, so more stuff to discuss tomorrow. Most importantly, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you in about 23 hours.